Good morning, y'all. This weekend we are going to be really busy getting things ready, getting everything planned to take our long distance trip down the Texas Gulf Coast. And it's early in the morning. But before we can do any of that, we have to get some food. So we are on our way to get waffles. All right, y'all, so we made it to the Waffle House where we're going to get the amazing waffles. But first of all, we need coffee. Like, I seriously need coffee. Alright, so I got some coffee and I got a waffle, and now I'm feeling all fat and happy and loving life. It's time to go get this trip planned. Every long range trip begins with a trip to the fuel dock. So today we're going to run over to the fuel dock and fill up Miss Zoe Grace. So Zoe Grace has a 500-gallon fuel capacity, and she's right about half a tank right now. So we're going to run over to the fuel dock and get her all fueled up and ready to go. So the first tank is full, and it only took just over 100 gallons. It took 102 gallons, so that's a pretty good day. Let's see what that second tank takes. So the second tank took 118 gallons. Let's find out how much this is going to cost. So it was a total of 222 gallons of fuel, cost us $799, but now we are fueled up and ready to go on our trip. So another part of getting the boat ready for a long range trip, or really any trip, is just double checking on all the systems, making sure everything's working the way it's supposed to be. And guess what? Something's not working, because on a boat, it's always something. While that might look like a flush, it's deceiving, it's not. Let me show you what it's supposed to look like. So now I've got to figure out two things. One, what is wrong with this toilet? And two, what is it going to take to get it fixed really quick so that we can still leave on time? Hopefully this is not going to be much of a challenge. We'll see. Planning for any long-range trips, or really any trips outside of our home base area, begins right here at the kitchen table. We set up the computer and it begins right here at the kitchen table. And what was I going to say next? Who knows? You don't know, I don't know, clearly. Nobody knows what I was gonna say next. I have a really busy mind, and when I don't want to think about something, I can't turn my thoughts off almost. Like I just go, 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 go. And then when I do want to say something and I want to, you know, think something through and have it actually come out of my mouth in coherent words that make sense in the right order, or that make sense because they're in the right order, I can't get them out. Where are my words? Who knows? Whatever, rant over. Planning for all of our long range trips, or really any trip outside of our home base area, starts right here at the kitchen table. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're going to look at different route options in planning our trip down the Texas coast. Navionics program, you go into your settings and you set up all the information that's specific to your boat. Once you do that, you can use the Navionics auto route function, and it will set up a route between 2 points for you based on the parameters of your boat. So let's check that out. So you can see here that the Navionics app is building a route for us. You can see that right here, and you can see that little line, click, 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 clicking, clicking away. So let's see what it comes up with. So the results of the Navionics automatic route planner from the Kehma Boardwalk Marina to the Port Aransas Municipal Marina, where we'll be staying when we get to Port Aransas, is 179.3 nautical miles. It says it will take us 10 hours and 32 minutes to get there, and it'll take us 421.9 gallons of gas. So let's zoom out and take a look at this route. So you can see here, the pink line represents our route. This big pink dot here is our starting point and our Kehma Marina, and the ending point here with the checkered flag is the Port Aransas Municipal Marina. The time can be deceiving, because what this is just a simple calculation of the distance divided by our knots per hour. And our boat typically at an average cruising speed travels about 18, 19, maybe 20 knots per hour. So that, when you do the math, just breaks down to a simple 10 hours and 32 minutes. But let me tell you, that is not accurate, because when you're traveling through this Intercoastal Waterway all the way through here, down the Texas coast, you're traveling around a lot of barges and through some really commercial areas, and you have to slow way down. You cannot go cruising past a barge at 20 knots an hour. I mean, you can, but boy, they're going to be really pissed off at you because you're going to be throwing up a big wake. So there's lots of areas along this route that you really have to slow down for, and that makes this trip much closer to probably 15 hours. The really important thing, and the thing that I always make sure I know right off the top of my head, I know really, really well, is what the calculation for the fuel burn is going to be. Zoe Grace burns about 40 gallons per hour. So in 10 hours and 32 minutes, she's gonna burn almost 421.9 gallons. This is really important to understand and really important to know, because we can only carry 500 gallons of diesel. And the last thing we ever want to do on that boat, other than sink it or have a fire, is to run out of gas. Running out of fuel on a power boat is a huge, huge dangerous situation. And we want to be safe and responsible boaters. So we're definitely not going to ever put ourselves in a position where we could run out of fuel. So that's one of the first things I always look at when we're planning a trip, is what is our calculated rate of fuel burn. Now, this is a great route. There's nothing wrong with it. But like I said, going along this intercoastal route here, we're going to have a lot of commercial traffic to deal with. We're going to have a lot of barges to go around. We're going to have a lot of nature preserve areas where you have to be sure you don't throw up a wake, and there's even some residential areas that are built right along this Intercoastal Waterway. And let me tell you, I can tell you from experience, those residential people that live on the Intercoastal Waterway, which is like living on the freeway, are really, really upset if a wake comes up on their pier. I know they built the pier that goes out into the water, and that's one thing, but they do not want that wake getting on their pier. I'll tell you all about that story on a different day, not today. Anyway, there's a lot of places along this route that you have to really make sure you really slow down, go really slow. So this can take a lot longer than 10 hours to do this route. Let's look at another option. Navionics app makes it super simple to look at other options. Zoe Grace is a Class B rated vessel, which means she is not ocean crossing. She is not designed to be ocean crossing, but she is designed to be safe as far out as about 200 miles offshore and in up to about 12 to 15 foot seas. There's a big difference between safe and comfortable, but we do have the option to go really far offshore if we wanted to. So let's take a look at what that option would look like. All right, so let's see what that does for us. So this is a manual route that I've charted myself, and it's just taking us from the same starting point and the same stopping point, but instead of traveling through this intercoastal through here, we'd be traveling on the outside of the barrier islands, which that's what these little islands are. These are called barrier islands. We'll be traveling on the outside in the Gulf of Mexico. See that if we take this route through the Gulf of Mexico, things look similar, just a little bit different. So taking this route is 188.7 nautical miles. It is expected to take us 11 hours, 6 minutes, and to burn 444 gallons of diesel. Now, this timeline, the 11-hour, 6-minute timeline, is much more realistic than the timeline that we calculate going through the Intercoastal, because when you're in the Gulf of Mexico, you don't have to slow down for those no-wake zones and for all those tugboats. Tugboats can't operate out in the Gulf of Mexico pushing barges because the barges would be all over the place. The seas are commonly at least 2 to 3 foot, and it's just not comfortable for commercial traffic. They need much more controlled waterways, much more controlled situations on the waterways in order to operate safely and efficiently. So this is another route that would be an option for us. Now, because I have family that lives in the Port Aransas area and I live up in the Northeast Texas area, we've made this trip a couple of times. We've made it on the Gulf side, and we've also made it on the Intercoastal side. The Intercoastal route provides very calm, tranquil, relaxing waters, but you do have to slow down all the time for tugboats pushing barges and other commercial vessels, because really that shipping lane was built for them, not for us. They just let us use it, but they always have the right of way, and there are a lot of them. So there's always that convenience factor. You're going to be slowing down a lot. The other thing that you have on the Intercoastal Waterway route that you don't have in the Gulf route is you have 2 river locks. And the locks are only open to private boaters at the top of the hour every hour, which sounds fine, and most of the time it is. But the locks are commonly under construction and maintenance because anything in the water needs a ton of maintenance. And if the lock is going to be closed for 4 hours for maintenance, then guess what? You need to drop your anchor and sit there for 4 hours for them to open up that lock. You cannot drive through a wall. So the pros to the Intercoastal Waterway are that the water is very calm. The route is nice, it's a nice pretty route, and it's pretty easy to travel. The cons to the Intercoastal Waterway is that there is a lot of barge traffic and they always have the right of way. There are river locks and timing issues that you have absolutely no control over. It just is what it is. With that being said, it seems like taking the Gulf of Mexico route would be much easier. And in a lot of ways it is. Of course, there is a lot of commercial traffic in the Gulf of Mexico, but the Gulf of Mexico is a really big place. So you don't have to really slow down to, drive past a container ship, a ship that's carrying, 500 to 1,000 containers. They don't care. Our boat is not big enough to be of any concern to them. As long as we don't hit them and they don't hit us, we're all good. So you don't have to slow down for those boats at all. So commercial traffic is not really a concern on the Gulf. What is a concern on the Gulf is that it's much windier on the Gulf because there's no barrier island to block any of that wind, and so the top part of our boat is swaying much more in the wind. And then of course there's the wave and the swells. So the average wave and swells going on, you know, just maybe 30, 40 miles offshore is 2 to 3 foot on a calm day. 2 to 3 foot doesn't sound like a lot. You have a 2 to 3 foot rise and fall in your boat every 2 to 3 seconds. That means you're like this all day long for an 11+ hour trip. And that's not the most comfortable trip. Now, if you have those same 2 to 3 foot seas, but they're more like 12 to 15 seconds apart, that is much more comfortable, because with the force of the boat moving forward through that wave pattern and those waves being further spread out, it doesn't feel like much of it doesn't rock the boat much at all. So it's much more comfortable. The thing is you don't know what seas you're gonna have until you get ready to go. And you could be out on the Gulf of Mexico and you could start out in those calm seas with those 2 foot seas, 15 seconds apart, and an hour later be in those 3 to 4 foot seas 3 seconds apart. And what that means is that a lot of people on your boat are gonna get seasick pretty quick. And that's not fun for anybody. So the pros to the Gulf route are that you don't have a lot of traffic concerns. You don't have to slow down. There's not any no wake zones. You can go through that. You can follow that route just as fast as you want to run your boat. And that is a huge pro. The cons are that you can't control the seas. Nobody can control the seas. And the seas might be comfortable when you leave, and it might not stay that way. The Gulf of Mexico is obviously completely unpredictable, and being uncomfortable on a boat, being really uncomfortable on a boat and seasick for 10, 11 hours at a time is not anybody's idea of fun. It's not anything we want to do. So that's a huge con to the Gulf of Mexico route. So because my husband is going to be captaining this trip, he's going to drive the boat from the whole way there and the whole way back, he's decided we're going to take the Intercoastal route. Even though it takes a little bit more time and it is absolutely more work for him to maneuver around all those commercial vessels, it's just so much more comfortable for us all that he said that he would rather do it that way. So that's the way we're going to do it. We'll be driving down the Intercoastal. So the boat route is planned. The only other... Okay. So the boat is fueled up and the route is planned. We still have the meal planning and grocery shopping to do. We are having a party on the boat Saturday night, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So I have the party planning, and you know, if there's anything I need to pick up for the party, I have that to do. And then I just need to pack some clothes for my husband and get those moved onto the boat, and we are good to go. I keep a capsule wardrobe for myself on the boat so I don't have to carry my clothes back and forth. I don't do the same for my husband because he just doesn't have as many clothes as I do, so he doesn't have enough clothes to keep a wardrobe there and a wardrobe at home, but I do. That's probably not a big surprise to anybody. Now, if we can just get that toilet issue worked out before we go, that would be awesome, because if not, we're gonna have 4 of us using one bathroom for the whole week, and that doesn't sound like fun. We have already reached out to a service provider that is going to come and get that worked out for us, so we should be good to go. I'll be making a video taking you along the whole trip down to Port Aransas, and then I'll be making a couple videos while we're there as well, and I hope you do subscribe to the channel and want to come along with us and hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. Until I see you then, bye y'all.